It's Halloween on 2020, and we are taking our first extended trip up in the sheep range. We're going to go up Mormon Well Road today. And two main roads here in the sheep range. One is, and this is the Desert National Wildlife Refuge, by the way. In fact, we're not far from the visitor center at this time. And you can look over this direction. You see Mummy Mountain. And what else we see here? There's the observatory, Charleston Observatory, Fletcher Peak, and Griffith Peak, Harris Mountain, and then a little bit over this way, La Madre Mountain. So there's our familiar mountains in the Mount Charleston Wilderness. But where we're going today is the sheep range. There is the sheep range. And just below the sunrise there is Gas Peak. What we're going to do is take one of the two main roads. Alamo Road takes off to the left. Mormon Well Road takes off to the right. We're going to go Mormon Well Road today. And what we're going to do is we're going to pass the intersection of Gas Peak Road, and then we're going to go through Yucca Gap, which is the gap between Fossil Ridge and the sheep range, and that's you'll see it when we get closer. There's too much brush in the way right now. And then we hit Yucca Forest, which is the most beautiful, huge Joshua tree forest that I've ever seen. I ran up there last year and from this spot, and today we're riding the bike. So I'm going to go past that to Pine Nut Road, Peekaboo Canyon, possibly the Mormon Pass picnic area, and Sawmill Road, and then turn around and head back. We're not going to go all the way to 93. So that is the trip today, and what we're going to do is we're going to scope out the area and just look for potential approaches to summits in the sheep range here. And I'm all set up for, you can see the bike over here is set up to, I can leave the bike, lock it to a Joshua tree or whatever, and put the backpack on and head up toward a summit. Won't do that today, still recovering from plantar fasciitis, but today we're scoping out the potential summit approaches and places that we can hike and run in the area. And next week we're going to go up Alamo Road and look at potential approaches in the area up Alamo Road. But today it's Mormon Well Road. And this road is it's a pretty good road to ride on a mountain bike. A little bumpy in places, and coming down, wow, it's going to be a wild ride. But it's a very firm road. So we're going to look at road conditions here too and see what kind of distance we can cover in what time. And I'm all set up for flats. I've got a tire repair kit, plus I have some really thick tubes that I can replace the tubes that are on the tires now. I don't know that this bike has ever traveled on roads like this, so we're all prepared for any kind of thing that could happen. So let's go ahead and get started. 700 feet, first 5 miles, and here we are at the intersection of Mormon Well Road and Gas Peak Road. There goes Gas Peak Road in this direction. It's actually the better road. And then we look up in this direction, and here's Mormon Well Road, getting a little bumpy. We came up 700 feet straight up this road. Pretty steady incline right up this alluvial fan, which is the deposits. Call it alluvial fan. It's the deposits that are washed down from the mountains. And here you see the sheep range. And notice the Joshua trees appearing. That pass there is called Yucca Gap. And on the left is the sheep range. To the right is Fossil Ridge. Pretty amazing spot there where there are a lot of ancient fossils. We'll hike up that ridge at some point when my feet are cured. And here's the beast. I mean, not the beast, we'll call it the silver bullet. It's the bike. And then looking over this way, there you see Gas Peak. Beautiful scenery here. Looks definitely like desert scenery with these Joshua trees. And you can look down into the Las Vegas Valley, Centennial Hills area, down in that direction. And then moving up, here is La Madre Mountain. And things are opening up, so much better views now, since we're 700 feet higher. And moving around, we get into the Mount Charleston Wilderness and that pointy peak right in the center. That's Griffith Peak, and in front of it is Harris Mountain. And you see the saddle. There's the Griffith Harris Circuit page on Las Vegas Area Trails, shows, going from Harris Mountain to Griffith Peak and on around. There is Fletcher Peak, the kind of darker green wooded bump there. And then to the right of that is Mummy Mountain. And you see all the features, the toe, the midsection, and the head. And we've got pages on all of those in LasVegasAreaTrails.com. And then just continuing the circuit around. There you have it, and here's the sheep range once again. And our target, Yucca Gap and beyond. And we're just gonna go for about 4 hours, so we'll see where we end up at the turnaround point. Okay, onward. We're in Yucca Gap. The road's a little bit more brutal. deeper rock, but it's passable. Continuing on up, here you see the southern tip of the Sheep Range, and it looks like there are a couple ascent points here. So we'll come back and try that at some point. And over on this side is Fossil Ridge. And just to give you an idea why they call it Fossil Ridge, let's see if we can find some fossils in these rocks here. Actually, we're surrounded by fossils. Here you go. So yeah. There you can see some of the fossils embedded in the rock. And definitely, if you were to ascend the ridge further, well, even looking around this area, you can see some shells embedded in the rock here. Must have been an ocean floor at one time. And yeah, there's a few more. So it's fossils all around. Why they call it Fossil Ridge. Here's something. So you see lots of shells embedded in this rock of a Fossil Ridge here. Oops, sorry about the movement of the camera. But yeah, look closely and you can see a number of shells embedded in the rock here. And so, yeah, this is another trip in the future after my foot heals from the plantar fasciitis. I think I'll just go straight up this ridge here and walk along the top. And I imagine it's just packed with fossils. So for now, though, we're heading through Yucca Gap, and in the distance there, right through the gap, is a beautiful Joshua tree forest, the Yucca Forest. So we'll get a closer look at that in a bit. But for now, a little more challenging rock road here, but we're going to make it up and around the corner to the left and onward. So here we go. Well, here's a little tributary road. It circles around a portion of Fossil Ridge up here, but as you look up ahead, Fossil Ridge definitely is impressive. It just continues on and on. Let's get a closer look at it. And then as we look off in this direction, here you see the beginnings of one of the most amazing Joshua tree forests. Well, it's called the Yucca Forest because Joshua trees are yucca plants. But look at this. It goes on and on and on. We'll get more pictures as we go through it. But this is the point where we take a left. The road takes a left, actually. And we're going to go with it. And we circle around. You can see here's the south tip of the sheep range, and there are some approaches there. So we've seen a few different potential summit approaches to get up on the high ridges up there, and we'll return and tackle those at some point. But for now, we continue the overview of Mormon Well Road, and here it's circling around the backside or the east side of the sheep range. So here we go. By the way, at this point we have ascended a little over 1,000 feet so far. Good time to pause. We're in the middle of this amazing Yucca Forest. There you see Fossil Ridge in the background. Look at these Joshua trees, just incredible. And here's a car approaching from this direction. And there's one coming up behind me. So I'm going to pause a moment, let them pass, and then we'll continue. First two cars I've seen all day, and they passed me right at the same time. So going in opposite directions. Isn't that, what are the chances? Anyway, look through this gap. This is the Yucca Gap, and straight through the gap, great view of Mummy Mountain, and to the left, the pointy Griffith Peak. And as I said, here we are in the midst of this huge Joshua tree forest. And there you can see part of Fossil Ridge, and you see where, yes, it had been an ocean floor, and those stripes are silt that has collected. I believe, I'm not a geologist, but I'm going to guess that it's silt that's collected. It was horizontal at one point, and somehow it got pushed up, and that's why when you're climbing the ridge there, Fossil Ridge, you can see way up at the top, and all the way up you can see fossils. But speaking of fossils, I just happened to see one of the best fossil rocks I've seen anywhere. Get a load of this. Wow. Right off the ocean floor. So this whole area was an inland sea at one time, and just amazing fossil remains all over the place. We just happened to stop right at the best fossil rock I've seen. Okay, so continuing around, There's Fossil Ridge. And as you can see, it continues on and on. And this Yucca Forest, Joshua Tree Forest, just goes on forever. It is truly incredible. But there you've got Fossil Ridge just continuing on and on. And then, yeah, here's the road. It's relentless uphill and lots of rocks on the surface of this road. So it's pretty slow going on a mountain bike. And we've ascended now nearly 1,400 feet from our starting point. Okay, now you see the sheep range, and you're looking at the eastern side, the side that you don't see very often because, you know, it's not visible to where most cars can ride. Interesting formations here. Little cave. But you can see, very possible to ascend to the top of this ridge from a lot of different points. I imagine amazing things that you'd see up there. Very few people would, I mean, if you just take a spot and ascend, you'd be in a spot that very few people have ever walked before. And we'll do that a little later in the winter. But for now, overview of Mormon Well Road. Let's see how far we get. We've ascended 2,000 feet now, and this little turnoff or turnout, and looks like a camping spot. Anyway, great view of the east side of the sheep range. Right through that opening, right in the center of the opening, Griffith Peak. And just to the left of that piece of the sheep range, the southern part, is La Madre Mountain. And in the distance, Potosi Mountain. And then you can see Fossil Ridge. And looking straight down, Mormon Well Road. And then above Fossil Ridge, Gas Peak has appeared. And here is the eastern summit of Gas Peak. And then moving along to the right, there's the mid-section, what we call the Gas Peak Gauntlet. And you can see on the Gas Peak page where we did that. And then here is the western summit, and right between the Gauntlet and the western summit is the location where I most often summit, the mid-summit ridge. And you can see that on LasVegasAreaTrails.com also. Gas Peak Mid-Summit Ridge. And then looking off in this direction, more of Mormon Well Road. And a little bit of a reprieve from that relentless uphill. And you can see looking down Mormon Well Road, rocky uphill. And over there is the Yucca Gap right in that area. So we're looking at lots of different viewpoints. And then of course, spread out before us is that huge Yucca Forest, Joshua Tree Forest. And it just goes on forever. You can see it going all the way to the base of Fossil Ridge in the distance. And just stretching out all the way to the east. The largest Joshua Tree Forest I have ever seen in my life. Pretty cool. And we're in the midst of it. It's all around us. Reaching to the base of the Sheep Range. And just continuing on. Look at those Joshua trees. It's so beautiful. And they've been growing for over a century, the larger ones. You can see them in all different stages of growth. And then there's some yucca plants. Okay, and a creosote bush right in the center of this turnaround. So there you have it. We're going to continue on, and let's see, we've got another, maybe 1.5 hours. We'll see how far we get. Very slow going up this road on a mountain bike. Okay, onward. Here we are at the Yucca Forest sign, and hopefully that doesn't mean I've only gone 10 miles. Wow, been really slow going up this road. I've had a little downhill here, and you can see Mormon Well Road in that direction, the direction I came from, and Yucca Forest, and Mormon Well Road, the direction I'm headed. So I was hoping it'd be uphill all the way because now I'm going to have to turn around at some point and head back up this monster hill. So anyway, well, we'll just do it. Here we go. Here we are overlooking the endless Joshua Tree Forest called the Yucca Forest. Look at that. They just don't end. Huge. As far as the eye can see, you have these Joshua trees. Very beautiful. Like I said, I've never seen so many. Definitely, if Joshua trees could make a forest, this is what it would look like. And there you see, stretching out ahead, Mormon Well Road. This is the section we just covered, and you can see it goes up to a high point. So yeah, I've got to do some uphill on the way back too. Once I hit that high point though, I know it's downhill all the way, but even the downhill is going to be a bit challenging because lots of rocks, lots of opportunity to just wipe out on the bike. And then there's the Yucca Gap, and you can see Mummy Mountain and Griffith Peak. Then over to the left, there's La Madre Mountain, and then, well, let's zoom in on them so you can really get a good look. Mummy Mountain and Griffith Peak, and then over to La Madre Mountain. And then let's move around a little more to the left, and a great shot of Gas Peak from the opposite side of which we normally view Gas Peak. There's the eastern summit, then over to the mid-summit area, western summit, and there's that mid-summit ridge right in the center, that dip. That's where we summit Gas Peak so often, and then continue on through the area between that dip there and the eastern summit here. I call the Gas Peak Gauntlet. There it is. It's traversing avalanche slopes and hanging on for dear life, but you can make the summit from there. And at some point we'll take Gas Peak Road, and we've got the main trail to the summit of Gas Peak that we could summit there. We could actually go around Gas Peak Road and come out on I think it's Lamb Boulevard, and that goes down to 215. And there are other routes that we can take to get back to home in Centennial Hills. So there you have, I'll just call it the world's greatest Joshua Tree Forest. I'm sure there are larger Joshua Tree forests somewhere on Earth, but I don't know how you can get much larger than this. It just goes on forever and ever. So, so beautiful. And the trees, they look like something out of a Dr. Seuss book. Okay, let's continue on, and we'll go for another maybe half hour, see how far we get. I don't see any markers around here, so I don't know. There is a pass eventually that'll take you over to Highway 93. I'm definitely not going to do that today. So where we are, I do not know. All I know is we're going until I run out of time and turn around and head back. But what a great adventure today. Okay, let's continue onward. Well, I'm at the turnaround point. We're at the intersection of Mormon Well Road and Pine Nut Road. And here's Mormon Well Road continuing. Pine Nut Road splitting off to the left. And I imagine that takes you to the base of the sheep range up ahead, because that's the only place that there would be pine trees and pine nuts. So there's a great view of the sheep range from the east side. You can still see down toward Mummy Mountain in Griffith Peak. Griffith Peak right in the between the branches of that Joshua tree. And we're in the middle of this huge, endless Joshua tree forest. Incredible. Now, I'm thinking, here's Mormon Well Road again. I'm thinking there's a pass up ahead, and it goes through and comes out at Highway 93. But I'm not sure. It could be a little further along. We'll check a map out when we get back. But at least we have a point of reference, Pine Nut Road. So we know how far we got. Look at this Joshua tree. Just amazing. That's got to be 200 or 300 years old. And there's plenty of them all around, everywhere the eye can see. Joshua trees. Wow. Just incredible. So here we are in the middle of the Desert National Wildlife Refuge on Mormon Well Road. This is the largest wildlife refuge in the lower 48 states. Now you see why. In fact, it's mostly Joshua trees. And what we're looking at here is an extension of that ridge system. Looks like an extension of Fossil Ridge. And then right up in this little saddle, beyond the little saddle there, is the summit of Gas Peak. Okay. So I know that there's, based on that little harrowing stretch downhill that I took a while back after we had hit that earlier high point viewpoint, there's going to be some uphill trudge on the with the rocks, and then downhill through Yucca Gap, and that's a pretty rocky stretch too. So you're not going to be riding all out on a mountain bike unless you would like to have a shortened life. And here's the Silver Bullet. Brought me out this far. So hopefully we won't have scrambled brains on the way back. Boy, it's going to be a bumpy ride, but wow, doesn't get better than this. What a beautiful scene. And the high is 82 in the valley today. I normally wouldn't be down this low of an elevation. Let's see. It's actually, we've ascended about 2,200 feet since our beginning point. So mostly descent on the way back. But as I said, I wouldn't normally be at this low of an altitude. It's about 5,000 feet where I am right now on this hot a day. But since I cannot climb avalanche slopes until my plantar fasciitis is healed. There's going to be more of this for a while. But what a beautiful day. So anyway, off we go back down Mormon Well Road and through Yucca Gap and out at the headquarters of the Desert National Wildlife Refuge on Corn Creek Road. Let's get going. Well, we're back. We didn't make any land speed records. Pine Nut Road is only 15 miles and took 5 hours, 3 miles an hour going up that hill, and it took 1 hour and 45 minutes to get back. So yeah, it was quite a battle going up the hill, but anyway, that was a first shot at Mormon Well Road. Next week we'll look at Alamo Road. Most of the ascent areas up to up the Sheep Range are on the south side in Yucca Gap. Once you get too much past Yucca Gap, the road splits off and starts to take off away from the Sheep Range, and so you're not going to find any additional ascents past Yucca Gap, really. And so let's try the Alamo Road next week and see if there are some ascent points on that road. So anyway, there you have it. Adventure for today. Wow. I think I have scrambled brains from that wild ride down the rocky road on the way back. But coasting most of the time. It was really a steep climb and a lot of deep rocks in different places. So it's not too mountain bike friendly once you get into Yucca Gap. Once you pass the intersection of Gas Peak Road, it gets pretty rocky, and then it's rocky all the way up to a summit area, and then when it begins to split off to the east from the Sheep Range, the road gets a little better. Coming back though, is pretty much use the brakes and make sure you don't end up going too fast and end up in a gravel pile somewhere on the ground. So anyway, that's the trip up Mormon Well Road.